Good evening. Welcome to American Hammers TV, part of the American Hammers Network. I can't even get the first line out. See, I've already messed up. Part of the American Hammers Network. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're here after we were just discussing the drudgery of international football and how much we hate it and how ridiculous a lot of it is. But we're glad you're here anyway. And I've got a good group with us tonight. I'll get to them in a minute, but you know all these guys anyway if you watch the show. Yeah, check out our website, AmericanHammers.net. If you want some stuff, get some West Ham stuff, get some American Hammers TV stuff. Let's put it right side up here. Our nice logo that we had done for us on the flag, T-shirts, whatnot. Helps us out, helps us keep StreamYard going, which is a great platform that we use to bring you the show. If you want to be on the show, find us on social. Let us know. Email us AmericanHammersTV@gmail.com. If you're a West Ham fan anywhere in the world and you're willing to do this at more or less 9 p.m. Eastern time, like James, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Charlie, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. They're here. If you guys are willing to do it, go for it. Anyway, and please, if you haven't, please like and subscribe. It helps us a lot. And tell your friends to like and subscribe if you would. That'd be helpful too. I see the chat room filling in nicely. That looks good. It looks really good. Yeah, I was late, Charlie, because I was trying to figure out where the tiny countries in the CONCACAF World Cup qualifying are out in the Caribbean, little islands with not very many people. So anyway, so James is here as always from East London. How you doing, James?
All good, mate. All good. Not so good about the result, but we'll get onto that in a little while.
We'll get onto it. Get onto a bunch of stuff. Yeah. David, my neighbor down in Boston. How's it going, David?
It's going lovely. Thank you.
Good. Like that shirt. You got anything on the back?
I got Agbana. But
nice.
Agbana, but that was probably still can't see it after I did that awkward move. But it was right before he got injured. But if he had got injured, I think he would have been in the contention for Hammer of the Year. So.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah, I think it'll probably be Souček now potentially if he stays healthy. But
yeah.
Charlie, not Charles. Charlie, look at that. Look at that. Look at him down there. Gordon Ramsay himself got a piece of toast going. You made
3 pieces of toast. Give me the credit I deserve. Thank you very much.
You got one of those double toasters then, huh? That's what you got going? Yeah.
I do.
Where's the fourth one then?
Well, no, it's only 2. I had to do it 2 separate times.
Oh.
Also, you know how you joked about not burning the toast? I did burn the toast. But it's fine. It's fine. I've put enough chocolate spread on the top to disguise that bit.
See, if you burn the toast, then whatever you put on it melts faster. Like your butter or your Nutella or whatever, and it gets down in the cracks, and it makes for better toast, I think.
Spoken like a true scholar. I appreciate it.
I'm just saying, I've eaten some toast in my time. I know what I'm talking about. And of course, with me as always on Wednesday nights from Aurora, Colorado, it's Sully. How you doing, Sully?
Yeah, not too bad. Good to be here. Good to see everybody. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're really, really, really glad you're here. Yeah, glad everybody's here. So I promise we're not doing 2.5 hours tonight. So sorry to disappoint Kieran and everybody else who's in the chat room waiting for 2.5 hours of West Ham, but we're going to keep it a little bit shorter. So we're coming off of a disappointing match that was really disappointing for the way it played out. You know what I mean? I think most of us would have accepted a draw versus Arsenal going into the match. I thought we could win, and I thought we would win. I will admit, I did think we'd win, and I was almost right. But I think most of us would have accepted a draw. But the way it played out, of course, it was a kick in the nuts. You know what I mean? It was one of those nut punch games where it's just like, this can't be happening. We kind of spursed a little bit with them. So I guess we can talk about that a little bit. There's no match this weekend to talk about, so I also want to get into some broader topics over the season in general. But James, why don't you start, because you're right next to me on the screen here. I point the wrong way every time. He's this way. There he is. Tell me, if you would, what you think the Arsenal result means for our season. Is this something that is going to haunt us? Do we bounce back from this? Do we bounce back from most of our bad results all season? What do you think it means? And, what do you think the significance of it is, I guess?
It's the start of something, mate. It's the start of something. That 4-man attack
good or bad?
Phenomenal.
Good or bad, though? I can't decide.
Really good. Like, that 4-man attack, the best 4-man attack I've seen at West Ham for a hell of a long time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
basically,
agree.
I think we blow any team out the water on our day if we go out with that 4-man attack. You've got to give Arsenal credit. They was getting embarrassed. They was getting humiliated, and they had to come back with some sort of reaction. The goal before half time was massive. If they don't score that, I think we win. I think we win the game.
I agree. Yeah.
Obviously, moments change games, and I'm not being funny. Antonio puts that ball in the back of the net. It's 4-2, and we're sitting here with a different aspect on the game. So you've got to look at it from a sort of aspect that like we're literally inches away from going 4-2 up and probably seeing off Arsenal. We was good, but the defending wasn't so good. So for me, how are we going to go going forward? I think it could be the start of something new, mate. I really do believe that.
All right. I'm going to keep that in mind. We'll come back to you in a minute. David, what was your take on what do you think this does for us in the home stretch these last 9 games? Do you think it has an impact?
I don't think it has an impact. I think it was an extremely unique game. I think Arsenal were a little tired coming off their tie with Olympiacos in Europa League. We are a counter-attacking team. They were expecting to just go against us, have possession easily, and expect us to counterattack. But what we did was we moved Cresswell up on the left and kind of poached their passes and used our front four, which is very impressive, and scored a lot of goals in succession, or 2 goals in succession. Arsenal definitely shut off for that second goal, which they've done against Burnley. They've done against some other teams. I think Arsenal were a little bit shell-shocked, but once they realized what our strategy was, then they came up with their own strategy. And their strategy was to win the ball back quickly, distribute it to the midfield, and then distribute it wide really quickly. And I think after our initial game plan succeeded, we didn't have a follow-up plan, and that's
absolutely.
We didn't have Pablo Fornals to shut down anyone on the wings, or even encroach a little bit into the center midfield, and I think that really showed. Souček looked tired, but there was 2 or 3 moments in the game where Thomas Partey had the ball and he was advancing forward, and Souček didn't shut him down initially. I was like, why didn't he shut him down? But then I looked at some of the heat maps in the game, and it was because the whole West Ham was getting stretched out to the wing. They were just really scared of him distributing to the wing. Odegaard was playing awesome. We got really stretched at the end of the match.
Yeah, we didn't.
I think if Fornals and Akbana come back, I don't think we will be as stretched.
We put the wrong guy in with Mark Noble, David. I mean, let's face it. He doesn't help us get wider. He makes us more narrow and slower. But just for a second, I'm sorry to break.
But he didn't play in this game. He played in the Man U game.
No, he came in.
No, Noble came in on this game too.
He came in, as a substitute. As a substitute, I mean. Yeah. You're right. Not he didn't start. No, he didn't start. Yeah. But he came in as a substitute, and I thought it was.
Sorry, I misunderstood you. That's my fault.
My fault. No, I wanted to stop for just a second and say, Rob, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Where did it go? There we go. There he is. Happy birthday, Rob. I'll tell you what. My one of my coworkers had a birthday today. She turned 24. I was like, okay. I mean, she could be my daughter. You know what I mean? But she's an excellent designer, and I'm glad to have her on the team. And she doesn't watch the show, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, happy birthday, Rob. Really, really happy to have you here with us on your birthday, and hope you're able to enjoy it, and hope by next year you have maybe a little more normal, happier, better birthday. But appreciate this one for what it is. Anyway, keep going, David. I'm sorry. I was just thinking.
Yeah, I just thought we got really stretched. Like they were really good in their wide play. I also thought the Bowen play it wasn't an egregious play just on its own, but there was a series of things. I thought it could have been a foul on Bowen, but it wasn't called. It wasn't like an obvious foul, but it's normally called in your average football match. But then he just fell on the ground and touched the ball, and that's supposed to be a handball. But then Arsenal took it very quick before the
with
ball.
The ball moving. The ball was
still moving.
Yes. And I don't see how. I watched that over and over again, as I'm sure a lot of you did. I don't see how I don't see it as a foul. I don't. I
actually do not think Bowen was fouled.
Well, I didn't think there was a foul committed at all. Do you know what I mean? I would have just said play on. I thought Bowen went down too easily, but I thought it was, to me, it's just, play on. So I was surprised Arsenal got the free kick and then they took it with the ball moving. And of course, VAR doesn't look at that, right? But I mean, it's a mistake on our part to let that happen to begin with. But your point about getting stretched, I mean, so I think a lot of people were thinking we'd bring in Ben Johnson to kind of support Cresswell there on the left, but we didn't. We brought in Noble instead, who, is a center defensive midfielder basically, and he's old and he's slow and he doesn't help us get wide. He makes us narrower. So it was a curious substitution. It really was. But I really can't blame David Moyes or Mikel Antonio too much for this game. All right. I know Antonio should have scored, but that was a tougher chance than it looked like. All right. He had 2 assists.
I don't know though, Lee. I don't know, mate. Antonio, a top striker buries that.
He's not even a striker though, James. This is what I'm getting at. We don't have a choice we don't have a striker after Antonio, period. So if anything, I mean, I look at this game, everybody agreed with the starting 11. Nobody was upset about the starting 11. All right. Everybody, I mean, I didn't see anybody who didn't think that was a good starting 11. Antonio should have buried his chance, but we put 2 own goals, and it's 2 in 2 weeks for Craig Dawson. And I still love Craig Dawson, but we're going through a rough patch. All right. And some of these guys look kind of tired, and we can't rest them because we don't have any other players, I think that has a lot to do with it. Anyway, Charlie, tell me, let's get to you since we haven't gone around yet. Tell me your thoughts.
It sucked. It sucked a lot. I freaking hated it.
Especially for you, because where you live, you're like in North London. You're in their territory.
Yeah, I got a lot of messages, and it wasn't very fun. It was a rough hour after the game. I was very angry. I can't lie to you. Like, usually I stay pretty cool-headed, and obviously, it's like doing stuff on YouTube. You try not to swear because YouTube doesn't like it. But I was effing and jeffing like nobody's business.
Did they not like it? Really? I never knew that.
There's certain things about algorithms, and it's just not super keen on you saying F-bombs and the like.
I did not know that. Okay.
But I tell you what, there were F-bombs dropped because I was mad angry. I can't lie to you. I was super angry. And it's not even just because of the Arsenal thing and my friends being Arsenal fans. It's because that was the most... They're average, man. I can't... Don't get me wrong. No. I like saying Arsenal average to my Arsenal friends because it pisses them off. But I'll be real with you.
I disagree. They're very average with 1 or 2 fatal flaws, but they're still very talented.
I think it's the other way around. I think they're very average with 1 or 2 amazing players.
No.
Callum Chambers pulled us apart. Chambers.
Six to one and a half dozen the other, really.
Yeah, but look at their price tag. Right? Hold on, man. Hold on. You got to look at their price tag of these players, though. You got Lacazette, Aubameyang, Partey, Martinelli. Like, these players are worth.
You named 3 of their best players, and outside of that, Martinelli's still growing. Yeah, but I mean, you can do that with us as well.
Yeah, but Eldegaard.
Odegaard's one of the ones. Odegaard's one of the ones I pull out.
Rowe is really good. It's their center defending that's terrible.
Yeah,
their defense is trash. They have a left back, and that's it.
Well, that's what we exploited, right? That's what we exploited in the first 35 minutes. They can't defend. They have a terrible defense, and we exploited that. The problem, I mean, to me, well, you know what, Charlie, keep talking. I shouldn't.
They're in that position in the league for a reason. They're average. As a team, they are average. Now, don't get me wrong. Aubameyang is incredible. He's having a horrendous season. Lacazette isn't. Lacazette is still doing well. Odegaard has come in and been absolutely brilliant so far for them. Thomas Partey has been injured all of the time, so I think with Thomas Partey in the side more, they would have had better results. But outside of those players, I mean, like, I can't lie to you. They're not a scary side, and we were 3-0 up. 3-0. And as a team who set up the way we set up, we conceded 3 to Callum Chambers.
We didn't
Callum
concede- no,
Chambers.
no,
Yeah,
we didn't
I know,
concede 3. We
Charlie,
scored
I'm sorry
2.
though,
We
mate.
scored 2 against ourselves.
You've got to respect them for what they are. I know you say they're a mid-table team, but they've still got talent all over their pitch. Do you know what I mean?
So does everyone else. We were 3-0 up. If it
No,
was the
I
other way
think
round, we would
Right,
be
okay
dancing
then.
on them.
Right, let me just say, hold on a minute. Let me just say this: Tottenham were 3-0 up against us.
Yeah, exactly.
And Tottenham-
And look how much we sung and danced about it.
Well,
Oh,
but
yeah,
part of
that's a
that,
different
Charlie,
story.
was
Well, that's the nature
wait a
of
minute.
support.
Part of that was because it was the last kick of the game. Let's be honest. I mean,
Of course.
that was a dramatic goal. David, go
was.
ahead. Sorry, what were you saying, David?
Yeah, I think the difference is what we've seen these last 2 games is that without Fornals more and Ivana somewhat, I think without them we're fine. We're fine against Newcastle. I think we're fine against Crystal Palace. I think those teams just don't have enough talent, to really stretch us, to test us. But I think Arsenal is in the boat. I think Man United is in the boat. Granted, Man United is a far superior team to Arsenal. But I agree with James. I think Arsenal has the firepower where they legitimately tested us.
And they found some form. They had just beaten Tottenham the week before. That was a big deal for them. They found a little bit of form. Sally, you've been quiet down there because I haven't let you talk. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it was a combination of a lot of things. As you were just saying, Arsenal were in a lot of confidence. They beat Tottenham. They moved on to the next round of Europa, all that good stuff. I think the formation was absolutely spot on. As I was saying last week, Arsenal is a team that you have to attack because their defense isn't great. I did not expect us to play that lights out for the first 35 minutes. That was very brilliant to see. And I think that sample size, is definitely part of the reason I think James, was saying that we have a lot to look forward to with this team. And I think it's true. With this starting 11, whether you have Benrahma in, Fornals in, whether Bona's in or Dawson's in, I think we have a good, starting 11 that we should stick with moving forward because the starting 11 plays with a lot of confidence. They play very well with each other. I mean, you don't just get that second goal, off of a real quick take, with players who don't really know each other.
I love when we do that. I love when we take those free kicks quickly. I love that. I love it. Now, as long as the ball stops rolling, But,
right. Yeah. No, I mean, it was good to see us get some open play goals too. I mean, don't get me wrong, a goal is a goal and I'll take them every time,
right.
But it was nice to see some open play goals. I don't think it was any surprise that, Tottenham, that Arsenal kind of grew into the game, obviously, with who they are. I do think we left them off the hook massively. I feel very bad for Dawson, because you could legitimately point to him and say that he's cost us 6 points. These last 2 weeks.
At least four.
I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to say that to say that he's the reason we lost. I'm saying that because I feel bad because his own goals are why we haven't won. If that makes sense, I still trust him back there and all that stuff. But granted, we didn't play our best formation, our best tactics against United. We played our best formation, our best tactics against Arsenal, but we let them off the hook. Moving forward, I'm not worried because I think this was the first time all year that we've lost back-to-back league games. I think that's massive. So moving forward, obviously.
Well, we didn't technically lose against Arsenal, even though it felt like it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
You're right. As you said that,
it felt like a loss.
It was the nature of the actual match.
Manchester City did not feel like a loss. Arsenal did. Manchester City was a loss. Arsenal was a draw, and yet you wouldn't think of it that way. By the way, hello to our friend in Japan. I just want everybody to know, I used to play for a Japanese rugby club. Yes, it's true. I played for the Paris Japanese Rugby Football Club, and we had a fantastic time and a great bunch of guys. So I'm really glad to have a supporter from Japan on tonight. It's good to see you. Anyway, go ahead. You guys were saying.
Yeah. The thing is, you've got to respect Arsenal for what they are, right? They were getting embarrassed. They were getting humiliated in front of the world, right? They had to have a reaction, and they scored a goal before half time that changed the dynamic of the game. If we go in 3-0 up, we win that game. Right? I can guarantee you, he's probably said to him at half time, "What you do, you got to press West Ham, get an early goal, and West Ham might crumble." Right?
Yeah, no, 100%.
I don't look at it. Sorry, Sally. I was going to say this. Yeah, I don't look at it about the game. I look at it. Antonio has a great chance. He has got to bury that chance. He has to bury it. Like as a proven
I don't know what
striker,
more he could do.
If we're going to point the finger of blame, though, if we're going to point the finger of blame, he's like way down the list for me. All right, he's down the. He had 2 assists. He played well, at least in the first half. We know the guy is running on fumes because he's not fit enough to play every week, but he has to. It was, I think, James, it was a much more difficult chance than it looked. Yeah, you put a world-class striker in there, he's going to bury it. All right, Harry Kane's going to bury it because I don't care. I'm sorry, he's a world-class striker. We know he is. Let's not
if
say
you're running the line for a Premier
Did you
League
say
club,
Allaire would have made it? Did you say
Allaire
Allaire
would have scored that? Yeah, for sure.
Right?
He probably would have, Sally. I agree.
He would have.
If you're running the line for a Premier League club, you can't be missing from 3 yards out and hitting the post.
Well,
I'm sorry, but
okay. But it's not like he put it over the bar the way he used to. I mean, he was at
Well,
full
he did that
stretch.
too.
Well, here's what I thought that was
This one incident.
Here's what I thought that went unaccounted for is he was leaning forward like this, and his back arm got grabbed by the Arsenal defender. It wasn't a penalty-worthy grab, but it was a grab that just slowed down his momentum a little. He does not have very long legs, does Michail Antonio, and I think that just pushed him off a little bit and didn't allow him to extend as much.
Yeah. I do agree a lot with what James was saying in terms of the caliber of, I guess, payrolls, if you will, and the players that they can bring in, because I think that's a big reason this year why we haven't performed well against top 6, but have performed excellent against everybody else. Right? We do have a great squad. Let me just go ahead and first get that out the way, because I don't want it to sound as if I'm bashing on who we have.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, like I said, we played Manchester City. Yeah, we played them great, but their bench costs more than almost our entire club, right?
Sure.
We Manchester United, we should have beaten them at least once this year, possibly twice. But when you have players who have won the World Cup and stuff, it's hard to always get a result from those guys. Tottenham, whatever, they're kind of more similar to us than I'm sure Tottenham fans would like to admit. And I do also agree with what Charlie was saying, where Arsenal are where they are for a reason. It's very true. They've underperformed and we've overperformed. It's the nature of the game. You get the points that you get, but at the same time, I think that is just the one thing between us and getting to where we want to be is just 1 or 2 like world-class players. I know we have Rice and, I know Souček is kind of putting his name in there, but if we were to have like
the problem we have though, Sully, yeah. The problem we have when you look at the problem you have is when you look at our bench. Look at how many under 23s we've got on our bench.
Yeah, 2 goalies on the bench again this week.
Yeah,
that's all the players we have. We don't have any other players.
Yeah,
he brought on Mark Noble.
And I think that was another subplot of the Arsenal West Ham match was look at those benches.
Well, yeah, true, but I think that's.
Sorry,
I mean, somebody brought it up in the chat earlier, and I think it was Vernon. They can bring players off the bench far superior to anybody we have on our bench. I mean, they, as you said, Sally, they've got a bench that's probably worth as much as our whole squad.
But the bench didn't win the game, though.
No, true. I think one thing that we haven't talked about is how Moyes started to kind of park the bus with a 3-goal lead.
I'll be real. I think we're giving David Moyes a really easy time here. Man pooped himself. He crapped it. His head was gone. He brought on Mark Noble, which made no sense.
Mark Noble, which
he was running onto the pitch complaining about the ref. Which don't get me wrong, I was complaining about the ref, but
I don't get that though because Antonio misses from 3 yards out, and people are saying that David Moyes got it wrong.
I'm not. Yeah, but that's a single chance. That's a single chance. We attack a bit more. Maybe Antonio gets another chance and actually buries it, but we didn't. We chickened out. The only times we went forward in that second half, we actually did them damage. And Arsenal were at 6s and 7s. And yet he looked at that and went, no. He brought on Mark Noble, which made 0 sense.
0 sense.
He had us full on defensive. Yeah. And it's like, what were you expecting? If we were the first 35 minutes, we're attacking them, but we're also dealing with them perfectly well defensively, then why did we then go, actually, Arsenal, you have all the ball and do whatever you want with it? oh, you're destroying us down the wings. Okay, let's bring on Mark Noble to shore up the middle. There was no sense in anything he did in that game.
The problem is, you got Cresswell who can't defend pace, right? Yeah. And we all know it. When he gets up against man one-on-one, right? It proved it last year when they had Traore against him from Wolves. Right?
And then it proved against Arsenal when Pepe went up against him last time out as well. Pepe destroyed him.
That's what I'm saying, right? As soon as they have seen that, the thing is, right? You say about the subs bench, Pepe comes on, assists Lacazette for the third goal. So, right, you got a £72 million player assisting a £55 million plus player, and at the end of the day, I know you say about Antonio, he might get another chance. He had 2 chances in the second half. Like Bowen has a shot.
Okay, so by that logic, Antonio cost us $7 million, so you can't blame him.
Yeah, well, Charlie, he's 3 yards out from goal. If that's Ben Rama, everyone's on the case of Ben Rama.
He was at full stretch. No, I don't care. I don't like Antonio, so I don't really have a horse in this race. I think he's trash anyway. But at the same time, I like
it's a valid point. It's a valid point about Ben Rama. It's a good point about Ben Rama, James.
Yeah, of course, everyone hates Ben Rama.
But if you want to look at where we fell apart, I mean, the Antonio miss, to me, it's still way down the list. I mean, we had 2 own goals, okay? And I realized, especially for the Dawson own goal, I mean, Arsenal had a couple of attackers waiting for that ball, but we had 2 own goals in one game. When's the last time we even had that happen? The thing is, Lee, the first one's unlucky. The first one's unlucky. He's had a shot. It's clipped him. Yeah, the first one, you can sort of, everyone could hold their hands up and say, you know what, that's really unlucky. The second one is Cresswell can't defend. If you look at the second goal, he's not even looking around.
The Arsenal pressure caused the own goal, I would argue.
And it's we've seen this with Cresswell recently. We saw it against Spurs. He gave up a goal on a set piece.
It's instructions. He gets told to tuck in. That's the tactics, and then he left it open and didn't get anyone to cover for him.
But I think what we're getting to is more the heart of the issue. You know, Moyes had this great starting 11 everybody loved. But then he reverted to form, really, when he put Noble in. It made 0 sense to use Mark Noble in this game. I mean, 0 sense. He doesn't help stop the Arsenal from coming down the wing, where they were shredding us. He doesn't really help support Cresswell at all. He doesn't add any speed. He doesn't add any width. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't add anything. And then once Arsenal scored the third goal, there were like 10 minutes plus injury time left. We couldn't possibly attack because we have Mark Noble on the pitch.
Can I ask everyone a question here, though? But what are we expecting Mark Noble at 34 years of age to do?
Not play.
I know what everyone. Yeah, I know. Well, now.
Who's the other option we could have had for us up?
Fredericks, Ben Johnson.
Or Coventry. Ben Johnson or Coventry.
Connor Coventry is an under 23 player, midfielder. Right? How can he not be getting on the pitch?
It's not the person. It's not the person who came on for me. It's the tactic of why he came on. You can bring. I think I even said this to Adam Frankel, right? The idiot that he is, right? And I'm not going to give him any credit right now. But I even said this to Frankel, right? I think realistically, all right. Foes. On the watch along, I said there was 0 chance Arsenal would ever score.
He blames Charlie.
Yeah, it's because on the watch along, I kept saying there was 0 chance of them scoring 3, and then they went and scored 3. Look,
Charlie, you said that?
Many times. I said it so many times. Lee, you haven't seen someone tempt fate unless you've seen me, bruv. I saw fate.
It wasn't wrong. They didn't score 3 goals.
Well, that's true. That really wasn't technical. That's like Frankel's got to shave the cannon in his head now, but he was arguing that Arsenal.
There's a reason I backed him in that argument. Well,
I noticed it. I was like, "What's wrong? What are you doing with it?" Well, that's weird. That's not like you. Anyway,
listen, I have to back myself at times. What I would say is this, right? It's not Noble coming on was the problem. And I said to Frankel, you could even bring on Noble after if you wanted for, say, Jesse Lingard or something. Jared Bowen has been out of form for a month. That was the first time he's looked even vaguely close to being in form. He is also the only wide player who provides any sort of cover for our fullbacks. The cover that is needed, because when we're playing 4 at the back, our fullbacks get told to cut inside, and then Callum Chambers has basically an acre of space to do whatever the hell he wants in, and was consistently damaging us in. So what he did was take off Bowen, the only one who does that, and brings on Noble, who plays centrally, which makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
In my head, you put Bowen on the left, and you bring on Fredericks at right wing, or alternatively, you change the 5 at the back, you take off whoever again, probably Ben Rama, and put Johnson on left wing back, and then you stop that space.
Thank you.
Can I ask you something though?
Yes.
How can Antonio be playing 90 minutes? Like as soon as he misses that chance, Antonio should be
Who else
off.
is gonna do it? I mean,
We only
Put
have
him
one
back on.
striker,
Why
yeah.
not?
I mean,
Why not put him on?
I think it goes back to there's so much involved in this match. There's lack of depth. There's an initial game plan that worked, then an adjustment to that game plan, a superior bench, us not having a bench.
and
Yeah,
this is a big point that Rob makes on his birthday. I think I'm going to say this. I believe that with Fornals, and I'm not saying it's because he's such a great player. It's because of the system we run. With Fornals, I think we get a draw against Manchester United, and I think we hang on and beat Arsenal because Fornals tracks back in a way Benrahma doesn't or can't. All right, he's enough of a creator to get us going forward, but he supports it. Charlie Boy says this all the time, and he's right. All right, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. Anyway, it's supposed to be pointing to the chat room, wherever it is. Charlie Boy says this all the time, and he's right. Fornals is there to protect Cresswell, just the way Masuaku had to be there to protect Cresswell before Masuaku had his surgery. I think if Fornals is on the pitch, we are 4 points better off than we are now. And again, it's not
We
because
probably have more points than that, honestly. I mean, and I will say, and Cresswell definitely has his perks. Obviously, distribution and all that. But I mean, how many times this season where we've lost a game have we said that it's because Cresswell can't cover the wing? I mean, it is definitely
last season. Silly, remember, all we talked about was how Aaron Cresswell was done. He had a horrible season. So yes, you're exactly right. We talk about this all the time.
I mean, that's the big reason why Masuaku was having a revelation of a season was because he was able to cover and overlap and all that good stuff. So Cresswell didn't have to worry about it. But I think at the same time, I think that just kind of goes to show that as a club, granted we don't have a striker or whatever, but I think that's not necessarily our priority. We have to get somebody to replace Cresswell and not some games in, some games off. I mean, Cresswell could be a good substitute. Sure. Why not?
The thing is, you've got to also look at it that all the defenders were bad. Even Kafal. I love Kafal, and I thought Kafal weren't great. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I will defend Kafal till the cows come home. So he's my ham of the year. Right.
I love him too, but you're right.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You've got to be realistic here and say, you know what, he weren't good.
Did anybody else think that even Declan wasn't his normal Declan self, other than having that big run toward the end of the match? Anybody else think Declan was sort of 90% Declan instead of 100%? I mean, I think
he was very occupied.
That's probably a lot to do with it.
Going close to Issa Diop. I'm going to try to share something here. I've never done this before, so if it fails, I apologize.
All right, we're going to have a power outage in all of New England here. No,
I can't even do it. It's like it's a heat map of where each player's average position was, and Declan Rice is just almost right next to where Issa Diop was.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, Craig Dawson's extremely wide. And it shows that what people thought was happening wasn't really happening. Let me see if I can do it one more time.
Yeah, give it a shot.
When you give up 3 goals, obviously the whole team is to blame, both going forward and going back. Right. So I mean, obviously, it's I think kind of as a mentality, and it might just be an issue. Well, I don't know. I don't want to say it's an issue with the team because we've had decent sized leads that we haven't given up this season. Stuff like this honestly just happens. I mean, regardless of who you are. Obviously, we did it to Tottenham. Obviously, it's well documented. Yeah. But I think, there is also a mentality to okay, we're up 3-0. We don't have to attack that much because we'll probably get another one or they won't get 3, Obviously, them getting one before halftime was huge for their success.
It always is. A goal before halftime like that is always a game changer, always.
Well, 100%. But I think even more than that was the fact that their second goal was a very obvious and blatant own goal that is okay, I think you kind of get in a panic mode, regardless of who lets the own goal in. It was just kind of – there's multiple reasons that it went in, and they were all our fault, essentially.
This reminded me of Brighton. The Glen Murray game a couple of years ago. Maybe that was just last season. I can't remember because of all the restarts, but you guys know what I'm talking about. We're up 3-1, 75 minutes in, and then Glen Murray scores the handball, not handball goal, and then we have the one that trickles between, I think it was Ogbonna and Diop who were in central defense, and they just have a miscommunication, just trickles between them, and then trickles over the goal line. I mean, this was, to me, Caselli, it's just what you're talking about. It's panic mode. Give up that first goal, and I think Moyes decided, all right, we're closing up shop, we're shutting this thing down. But as Charlie said earlier, we didn't need to do that because we were really doing pretty well.
No, when you still got a 2-goal lead, no, definitely not.
Right, we were doing pretty well defensively. We were still attacking. He did, and I like Moyes, and I support him. I still support him, but he bottled it again against a big club. It's just that this time he didn't do it with the starting 11. He did it with the substitutions. But I still think that in his system, Fornals is an extremely important player. And what it leads me to wonder is, James, you talked about that front four. You talked about Benrahma, Lingard, who was very good again. Let's face it, and Bowen, and of course Antonio is the only choice we have at striker. But I mean, it seems to me as though Fornals has to fit back in there somewhere. Do you put him in for Benrahma and maybe do what Moyes has been doing and bring Benrahma in the second half?
I don't understand. I do not don't get me wrong. I'm in the camp of like when Fornals wasn't there, I was like, well, I'm not fussed either way. Like now, obviously, what happened on Sunday has changed my opinion on that. But that front four is frightening. That front four is deadly. Like it's got pace either flank. It's got Lingard running through the middle, and it's got Antonio bullying defences. Like if we, I want us to be on the front foot, not starting off slow and working our way forward. The only way really that you can get in Fornals in this situation is if you go to a 4-3-3 system. That means one of the top boys have got to come out. Like, don't get me wrong, and people might say to me, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about." But Antonio, right? If he needs to sit on the bench, go with Lingard, Bowen, and Benrahma, and then you've got Fornals, Souček, and Rice. Like,
so who's up? So who do you play up front, or what's your formation?
You have mobile rotating strikers. They've all played striker, right? They all interchange with each other. Yeah, I mean they both play different flanks. Benrahma and Bowen can interchange, and as Lingard as a floating forward. Like you can do it so many different ways. Like Antonio doesn't look match fit to me. I don't know about anyone else, but he's running.
No, not for 90 minutes. No.
He seems to tire after like the 65th minute.
Absolutely, and we can't. And we know, everybody knows this. All right, this is what drives me crazy. Is this was a failure to plan on the part of the club. I don't know whether you want to blame Moyes. I prefer to blame David Sullivan for everything. But everybody knew when we sold Haller and we got rid of Ayeti and all the other guys who, the low money guys who were up front. Everybody knew Antonio couldn't play 90 minutes of every game. Everybody knew it, and yet here we are. That's what we're stuck with. That's all we have. Unless you want to put Bowen up front or turn Lingard into a striker or whatever. It's ridiculous. This is why I don't get upset at Antonio. I think the guy is going above and beyond what he's actually physically able to do. He had 2 assists on Sunday. He was involved in the match. He had his miss, but again, if you're going to point the finger of blame, he's way down the list for me. An athlete is never going to say, "Take me off, I'm not fit." That's not what athletes do. The manager has to say, "You know what? You're not starting this time, or we're going to take you off after 65 minutes because you're tired."
The thing is, though,
but you can't do that when there's nobody else to put in.
Yeah.
There's nobody else. What are you going to do?
The thing is, though, Lee, it's all about balance. But a team has to be balanced. You can't have.
We have an unbalanced team, right?
That's what I'm saying, right? Now, at the end of the day, if Antonio has to come on for 30 minutes, imagine making a sub on the 60th minute and going, right, Mikel Antonio's coming on for the last 30 minutes of a game against a team. Now, that's a pretty good sub to have on for 30 minutes, and highly unlikely you ain't going to get an injury in 30 minutes. Do you know what I mean? But you can get an injury in 90, if that makes sense. So
yeah. Well, and I do think, and I know it's probably never going to happen, but kind of to Vernon's point with his comment, like what's the point of having Odubeko on if he's just going to sit there and take up a bench spot? Granted, he's probably in there for emergencies, and I'm sure you probably start Bowen at striker before you give Odubeko a chance. But Odubeko came on the next day and got two, almost 3 goals against Norwich. Now, granted, PL2, whatever, but you have to beat who's in front of you, right? I can't fault him for the fact that we're playing in PL2. Yeah. Because I think it'd be worse if he went out there and played terrible, You know, so I think obviously we're not going to bring anybody in. You know, why not? And even if you give him 30 minutes, just give, you know, let Antonio get an hour, you know, something like that, and bring in Odebeku, you know, whether we're up, whether we're down. You got to find out what you have in the kid, you know, especially if you're more than likely going to send him on loan next year, you know, which is what we seem to do with anybody who has potential. You know, so I think, you know, you got to give him a chance. You know, if you're not going to do like Bowen or somebody, but still you have to see what you have in the kid, because you never know. He could come on and have an impact for us like Saka did for Arsenal.
Let me ask you this, though, Selly. I mean, we saw him against Manchester United in the FA Cup. He was
I mean, sure. When you bring somebody on late in the game when the game's already boring and crappy anyways, like nobody's going to make an impact in that game. Like,
nah, Sully, I'll tell you the truth, mate. He's not ready. He's not.
Well,
ready.
Sure, he's not ready. But how do I mean? I'm just saying, give him a run out, give him like 20 minutes. Because Antonio is going to get hurt, and it's going to happen, and then we're going to be forced to use him anyways. So regardless, he's going to get on the pitch, whether it's because Antonio hurt himself, whether it's because he come on a sub, you know. But I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to be a world beater, and you know he probably isn't ready. But at the same time, I mean, stop bringing him on the bench if you're never going to play him on there. You know what I mean? Like, what's the point in that if you're going to bring him to our match, then he's going to play the next day anyways?
Yeah, I mean, listen. I want to agree with you, but I think every time somebody says play the kids, not many of the kids are up for it. They're just not usually up for it. I'm sorry, but they're usually not. I mean, you have Declan Rice, who's young, but I think we know he's an exceptional talent. Who's the last, you know, sort of? I mean, I guess Ben Johnson had a couple of good performances when he first came into the side a couple of years ago against Manchester City. I know we lost that game, but he played pretty well. But even he, a couple of times he was in, he was unimpressive, you know. The kids it's a massive step up from the reserves to the Premier League. It just is a gigantic step up. I mean, I think those reserve games are like a League 2 level. You know what I mean?
See, the thing is, I think there's a couple of things to say. I think, one, I don't think bringing him up against Arsenal would have mattered because we didn't bother to attack, so it makes no bloody difference whether he was on the pitch or not. He wasn't getting the ball.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Of course,
That's true.
think was his problem against Manchester United, was he got no support in that game. Now, I don't disagree, and I don't think he's ready. I was like looking at him going into Man United game, and everyone was talking about playing him. I didn't want to play him because I didn't think he was ready anyway to begin with. I just looked at him and went, okay, he scored a goal against once. It's like, whatever, it is what it is. But at the same time, he had no support in that game. And the thing is with playing the kids, even if they're not ready, the only way they get ready is by playing football. And if he sat there on the bench doing nothing, it's not helping him. And it's the same for any youth player. They need to get football. They need to get time. They need to get
loaned out. They need to get loaned out.
He needs to go out to a League One club like a Charlton or MK Dons, bang in 20 goals, go up to the Championship.
Would Odebeku score that chance?
Would he even be there? I have no idea. I mean, the argument that Allaire would have
scored it, David Moyes is never putting him on the pitch ever again.
The argument that Allaire would have scored it is based on the argument that Allaire would have made a run to begin with. I mean, you could argue that Allaire would have been back at the center circle hanging around.
Can I ask one question here? Yeah. Would Lingard have scored that chance?
No, I don't think anyone. I think the only reason Haller would is because he's got longer legs. Haller didn't even make the run. He was just the ball came fast across the box.
I'm going to give you some sort of stats. Yeah, Antonio's played 17 games this season, and he scored 7 goals. Right, Jesse Lingard has played 7 games, scored 5 goals, and made 3 assists. Mm-hmm. Our lone player could possibly overtake our main striker. That to me,
sure, but I mean that's a lot.
Thomas Suchek could overtake our main striker if he hasn't already. I mean,
he's on 9.
Yeah, I'm not going to put him up front. I mean, okay. My question is this though: everybody, and I saw a lot of this on Twitter too. Everybody's going off on Antonio. Okay. But first of all, he was very involved in 2 of our 3 goals. And number 2, again, what are you going to do? Are we going to make Lingard the striker? Is that what we're going to do? Is that the idea? Or Bowen?
I'll guarantee you right.
There is no backup.
I will guarantee you right now, if Lingard goes up front, he outscores Suchek and Antonio by the end of the season. 100%.
I disagree. I think he gets more chances because of his positioning. Now, don't get me wrong. I think he's a far superior player to Mikel Antonio. Again, I should stress, I don't have a horse in this race. I think he's a bad footballer. But I think you have to look at it and you have to say we don't necessarily provide for the strikers. The whole reason Antonio's up front isn't because he's a good striker, it's because he works within the system that matters. It's not. And Haller was an infinitely better striker than Mikel Antonio will ever be, but he didn't work in the system, so he didn't play up front. That's just.
But don't you find though, right, that this is a player, that Jesse Lingard's a player that has only played 3 games at the start of the season. He's turned up at the end of January. He's now scored 5 goals in 7 games and made 3 assists. And he's catching Antonio up that rapid in that short space of time. Don't you think that that's a bit embarrassing? Because I do.
Because Antonio's not a good football player.
I think that Lingard goes hand in hand with your Arsenal argument earlier. That they just have better players.
Exactly.
Arsenal have world-class players, obviously. As mediocre as the season as they're having, they're still advancing in European football, right? And I mean, I guess kind of on that same token, what I know Manchester United kind of like to do that same thing. Obviously, not so much this year, but I mean, obviously, he's come from a world-class club. He's a world-class player. I mean, he came on and he's played 5-6 games and he already got his England call up again, from a guy who basically faded into the abyss at Manchester United. So I think it goes a long way to say that this should be expected from Jesse Lingard. If he were to come in and maybe only have 1 or 2 goals, I think it would be a letdown, not only for him, but for us. But I think with him coming in and instantly making an impact, bagging the double against Villa, I think it should be expected.
See that comment there? Sorry, Sonny, I'm just reading it.
No, you're good.
When Antonio's 3 starts, right, he's opposing defenders, hell, and no one else. Knackered after 75 minutes in Briggs, no impact, so 15 minutes waste. I understand that he's a workhorse. I get that, but he's not a finisher. And at the end of the day, right, I want our striker to put the ball in the back of the net.
Well, he's getting better. He's getting better. I mean, it's one missed chance in a game we didn't lose because we couldn't score. We lost because we fell apart.
It's honestly not even just one. He had that shot at the corner of the box that he sent into Rosie, which he always does. Like I said earlier,
he does it less often than he used to.
I'm going to give you some more statistics.
He does, but not as often as he used to.
Right? Yeah. I'm going to give you some more stats. Against Crystal Palace, Benrahma assisted him 4 times. 4 times, Benrahma assisted him. He hit the post 3 times. A centre forward does not hit the post 3 times in that situation. At Manchester City, he has a chance again, hits the post again. Right? He's either incredibly unlucky, or he's not a very good striker.
But I'll tell you this: he's not a striker at all. I mean, he's not alone. We've hit the post more times than any other club in the Premier League this season. Ronaldo has done it. Benrahma has done it. Declan Rice has done it. Souček has done it. Everybody's done it. For whatever reason, you make the goal an inch taller and an inch wider, and we're on top of the league. I can't. I mean, it's hard for me to point at one person from this game and say it was mainly Antonio's fault. I just can't see it that way. I can't.
I agree. It wasn't just one person's fault. Like I said, when you give up 3 goals,
I don't think you were saying that, Sally. But you got to look at Cresswell.
But moments change games, though, don't they? Let's be honest. Moments change games.
So do substitutions. And Moyes made terrible. He made a terrible substitution bringing Mark Noble in. I mean, moments do change games. You have a phantom foul on Bowen. Arsenal take a free kick with the ball still rolling. All this stuff happens. I mean, you could look at any number of things that happened in that game. You change one moment, it changes the whole result. I think you bring Pablo Fornals in if he's healthy. I don't think we lose that game. I think we win. We might even win 4-2. Because he can come back and protect Cresswell. If you bring Ben Johnson in, somebody to protect Cresswell on that left side instead of bringing in Noble, who sits in the middle and does nothing, then we probably win that game.
In the chat, right? Rob said it back in the chat, and I remember reading through it. If you took Antonio out and you said, right, Lingard up front, Benrahma one side, Bowen the other, and Fornals as your 10, would you be happy as fans? I would. I'd be over the moon with that because I could see there's balance there.
I would be happy for like one game as a relief strategy for Antonio's fitness. But I think if we did that every single match, I think we'd give too many balls away in our offensive area and not stretch the opposing defense. I agree with what John Anthony is saying here in the comments. I think Antonio is a completely unique footballer. He's not an elite footballer. He's not a technically skilled footballer or in the elite sense, but he bullies and stretches the field, and he opens up spots for other players, which is extremely valuable when you have players who can kind of run onto the ball and crisscross like Benrahma, like Lingard, like Bowen. I think he just fits our team uniquely. I think if you put Mikel Antonio on Manchester United, he doesn't even.
I think you honestly could even.
Sorry, keep going, Sally.
I'll say you probably could even switch him and Bowen. Put him on the wing because he's played every position but goalie for us. So let's say you put him on the wing and have Bowen as striker. I don't think anybody's mad at that. You get the pace. He doesn't have to be the one to score.
Right.
He's obviously he gets his assists.
I think the only reason we don't go on the wing, Sully, I'll be honest with you, is the hamstring. Because what it is, he'll have to do a lot of running. When he's up front,
sure. No, you're not wrong.
Yeah,
there's also no one else to go up front.
He can't stay healthy. You can rely on him to.
He can't stay healthy. I can't rely on him. Period.
Spurts, but he's never going to be completely healthy over a full season. I do think, though, we're having a short memory. I think he was a great gift to us after the restart.
Oh,
he kept us up. He gave somebody 2 months of rest in the middle of the season.
We were in the relegation.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you're saying he's a great gift to us, right? He missed from 3 yards out. Jesse Lingard's come in, hasn't played for 6 months.
I said he was a great gift to us in that period. I'm not saying he's a great.
He's talking about last season after the restart. He kept us up after the restart. He kept us up. He did after the restart.
Yeah, but also you've also got to look at
Marco Arnautovic. He kept us up.
You've also got to look at it. We bought in Bowen and Souček and all. Right, let's not forget that. January we bought Bowen and Souček.
I know we did, and they made a huge impact. But Antonio went out and scored 4 goals against Norwich. He went out. I know it was against clubs that got relegated, but we were about to get relegated too. That's the whole point. It was relegation battle. We went into relegation battles, and he scored goals.
The way I look at this is, right, when you look at Jesse Lingard and you look at Antonio, that's the sort of talent that we should be batting with. Right, Jesse Lingard has played 3 cup games before, and then he didn't play for about 5.5 months before he signed for us. It takes a player 1, 2, 3 games to get up to speed with the Premier League. Usually, like maybe a bit more than that. Right, and people could go, well, look at Saïd Benrahma. It took him a while. Well, I love Benrahma, so I'm a fan. But the way I look at it is, when our lone player has scored 5 goals in 7 games and made 3 assists in such a short space of time, and then Antonio's played 17 games and only scored 7 goals, and he's our main striker at the club.
17 games and 7 goals for West Ham is not that bad, James. I'm sorry, but it's not.
At the striker position.
I hate to say it. That's not a bad return. Look at DiCanio. Look at Carlton Cole. Look at the guys we've had over the years. Their numbers are not that great. They're not that great. I'm sorry. We don't have... we don't have Harry Kane.
I could agree with you there. But when our defensive midfield player is scoring more goals than our striker, then you got to wonder why.
But let's be real. We can sit here and pontificate about whoever can play up front. None of them are strikers. It makes no bloody difference.
Exactly. We don't have a striker. We don't have a striker in the club.
We can say if we put Jesse Lingard in that position, he scores. He probably doesn't. We can say if we put Bowen in that position, he scores. He probably doesn't. The fact of the matter is, we don't have a striker. So we're sitting here and just having to go, who is the best person for it? And tactically, that is Mikel Antonio. Plainly because he's one of the few people in that team who can create something out of nothing because of his power. If you plant the ball long at him, which is what we will do, then he can bully people off the ball in order to get into good positions. Jesse Lingard can't do that. When Jesse Lingard has the ball at his feet, he will destroy people. I freaking love it. I flipping love Jesse.
I do too. I love Jesse Lingard.
When he has the ball at his feet, no one in our team makes it look as easy as Jesse Lingard does. It's disgusting. He will not make a guy run 40 yards as if it's nothing. Like as if it was me on the pitch. It's beautiful to see, right? But the thing is, if you punt the ball long over the top, he's not going to be able to bully players off the ball like Mikel Antonio does, just like no one else can. And that's the sole reason he's in that position. It's insane. We don't have a striker. And that's why when we talk about all these strikers who can come in, if they're not someone who could do that, there's no point in signing them because that's basically his sole purpose.
Just to play devil's advocate real quick.
Yeah.
Again, and I know it's already kind of been a mute point, so I mean we don't have to kind of keep talking about it past this. But earlier, obviously we were talking about Haller, and I've always said that the one thing that people hated about Haller was his pace and whatever. They said he had a poor work rate. If Haller had Antonio's speed, he'd be one of the best strikers in the Premier League, and I think that probably would be a fact. Because if all you have against him, if the only difference you have from him and Antonio is, Antonio, he could run faster. And Haller can bully people. Haller has the same setup game. Haller can assist. And more than Antonio, Haller can shoot. I think Haller had more in the 7 goals that he scored. Probably all of them are highlight reel goals. He scored like 2 or 3 worldies. But
technically, Haller was miles ahead of Antonio.
No, not even technically. It's literally. In every way, he was miles ahead of Antonio. But I mean, at the same
But he's not right for
Antonio's a converted striker.
He's not right for David Moyes either. And you're right, David. He's Antonio's a converted striker. Haller's a natural striker. David Moyes has a system. All right, either you like it or you don't. Listen.
Yeah.
Benrahma's a great player. He's wonderful going forward. He has not scored a goal, and nobody ever talks about that. I don't really care.
Everybody talks about that. What are you talking about?
Well,
everyone's
it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me that he hasn't scored because I think he's good for us offensively. But Fornals is a Moyes player, and Benrahma is not.
Fornals doesn't score.
No, but I mean, he tracks back in a way Benrahma doesn't.
Scored this season.
And Fornals has scored this season, but he tracks back in a way Benrahma doesn't. He protects Cresswell in a way Benrahma can't. Antonio is a Moyes player, and Haller was not. Haller has to have a strike partner. He needs a totally different setup. Moyes has a system. All right, he's going to play his system. You like it or not. If you don't like him, and a lot of people don't. Charlie Boy doesn't like Moyes. He wants him out. I mean, and he's got good arguments. But, right now we're sitting 5th on 49 points. We're going to go into April in 5th place on 49 points. We're 14 points away from our largest ever point total in the Premier League in 27, almost 30 years in the Premier League. Listen, the really, to me, all this comes down to, do you trust the manager? Do you trust David Moyes? Do you trust the way he trusts players? He doesn't trust Benrahma. We know that. He starts him when Fornals isn't available. He knows Benrahma doesn't track back.
Right?
So do you trust him?
I'm good friends. I'm very good friends with a Brentford fan, right? And I spoke to my mate about it in depth about Saeed Benrahma, and he turned around and said to me, he said, "James, you got a top talent there. He will make you goals all the time, but you got to put them away." And that is right. I'm not being funny enough. If you want to go and have a look at statistics, go back to the Crystal Palace game. How many times did he assist Antonio? And Antonio hit the post 3 times.
I mean, there's even been times where he's come off the bench and he has gotten assists. So I mean, that even just goes to prove your point too.
So what you're pointing out is that we don't have a striker. We don't have a striker. Antonio's a converted winger. Everybody knows this. Marko Arnautovic was a converted winger. Moyes does not have a striker, has never really played with a proper striker. When we had one in Haller, the tactics didn't work for Haller, and Haller clearly didn't want to be here. He couldn't wait to get out. He didn't like the system. I don't think he liked the manager, and it all fell apart. Even though he scored some good goals for us, as Sally mentioned, he scored some fantastic goals for us. And I would have kept him. I said this on the show before he was sold. I'd have kept him because I thought we needed another striker. I'd have sold him in the summer.
Can I ask this question to everyone, and even in the chat, and I'll ask this question. Let's say, the summer comes, we go out and we buy a striker. We buy a striker from somewhere, Ivan Toney. Does Antonio start, or is he a sub next season?
He might start to begin the season. Yeah. But I don't think he's the starter by middle of the season. And the only reason I'll say he starts at the beginning of the season is just because he knows the system. Like, and this is also assuming that Moyes is still the manager next season too, right? Because there hasn't been an extension yet.
Yeah, supposedly it's been offered, Selly, but it's not signed. So yeah,
sure,
you're
yeah,
right. Yes, you're right.
Sure, but let's say if it is somebody else. I mean, and even at this point, I think you have to probably get 2 strikers. Not to say that you need to play 2 at the same time, but you do need to legitimately get 2 because again, Meepo's probably going to go on loan, which is fine. Probably
he should. He should. Yeah.
And Antonio, again, he's not a striker, right? And now, you probably do go get one and Antonio's your backup, but at the same time, Antonio's still probably going to get hurt as a backup. So
I don't think – listen, how old is Antonio? Isn't he 30? Is he
31?
He's 31.
He's 31. Yeah.
I mean, he's going to have soon, I think, and I don't want this to happen because I love Antonio. I really love him. But he's going to have soon a season where it just drops off. It just drops off. His hamstrings cannot hold up. He wants to go play international football for Jamaica, which is, stress and strain on his body. He'll play for Jamaica, whereas he never would have for England in any serious way. It's more matches. It's more travel. It's more everything. He cannot keep this up. I will be shocked, quite frankly, if he's playing 90 minutes for us at any point this time next season. All right. Once we're however many games we are, 29 games in the next season, whatever it is, I would be shocked if he's playing 90 minutes for us. I see him as somebody who's going to come in as a substitute because I don't think his body's going to hold up. I think his body's already breaking down, and I hate to see it. I don't think his body's going to hold up. So I think we have to go out and get a proper striker. I think there's no choice about it. In the meantime, I mean, look, James, I'd be fine with seeing how Lingard does up front. I just don't. I'm with Charlie though. I don't think he brings the same thing Antonio brings. He doesn't bring the physicality. And when you look at where Lingard's scoring from, a lot of these goals are coming from. They're coming from farther back. They're coming from a midfield position. They're not necessarily coming from where a striker scores goals. There's not a lot of tap-ins. You know what I mean? Antonio is a guy who, to me, exemplifies West Ham in a lot of ways. He's not the best player, not the most talented player. He gives everything. He loves the club. He has a great attitude. He makes a lot of mistakes.
I think to the argument that James was saying earlier about the immediate impact that Lingard had in terms of what our strikers have or haven't done is I think it just goes to show as far as goal scoring is concerned what our midfield hadn't done. You come in and you're already our top scoring midfielder in a handful of games. It just goes to show, yeah, sure, Fornals had a goal, 2 goals. Okay, Bowen hasn't scored that much. Obviously, we know Benrahma hasn't scored a lot, even though Benrahma, even though he just kind of got here. But
Bowen scored 5, Sully. Bowen scored 5 goals, mate. That's all he scored all season.
Well, yeah, but guess what? Jason Lingard now has 5 goals. So, I mean, that's so you have 5 goals over the course of 29 games versus 5 goals in the course of 5 games? And granted, like I said, I'll take every goal. But, as a collective, our midfield wasn't getting it done offensively outside of assisting Souček, really.
No, you're right. And we've scored a lot of set pieces, too. Let's not forget about that. And remember who has a lot of assists is Aaron Cresswell, who's been one of the guys banging balls up for guys like Souček to score or assisting off of corners, which is, I mean, it's an assist, but it's not an open play assist. No, I think it's funny, though. What you say about Lingard, Selly, what you said about Arsenal, it's really true. It's the same argument. James, you talked about Arsenal's quality. They definitely have quality we don't have. They do. I mean, even if it's only a few, whether you look at it David's way or Charlie's way, it doesn't matter. There's a set of Arsenal players who are above and beyond anybody we have, at least in terms of value and what they should produce on the pitch. Okay, they have 55, 60, $70 million pound players. We don't have those guys. We know that, right? Jesse Lingard.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we have hardworking guys like Fornals. He's a grifter. Antonio's tough. He's physical, but we don't have those elite guys. We've never had players like that. We don't buy them. We can't afford them, or at least Sullivan won't buy them. But Jesse Lingard walks out of Manchester United. He's not played all season. He walks in. He's the best player in the team other than Declan Rice immediately, just like that. It tells me, and what somebody said up here earlier, and I think it was Neil, this is not this West Ham team. It's not a good team. It's a team that's winning. Do you know what I mean? I think our sum of our parts is greater than the parts. If I got that expression right. David's looking a little. The sum is greater. The sum is.
I know what you mean, but I'm forgetting the expression as well.
I can't remember it now. I've totally forgotten it. But you look at Lingard comes in. Yeah, it is embarrassing, James.
It's not the part of our sum. That's not it.
The sum is greater than the parts, I think is what I'm trying to say.
The sum is greater than the parts.
The sum is greater than the collective of the team is better than the individual players. Lingard walks in, of course it's embarrassing, James, that he comes in and scores 5 goals, and no one of our other attacking players have scored that much all season long. But it just tells you the gulf in talent, and this is why, despite all the mistakes he's made, and he's made some big mistakes, I still back David Moyes because he's getting something out of these players that Pellegrini never got, that Allardyce never got, that stupid Bilic never got, who was lucky to have Payet anyway. Moyes has done something with our team that I haven't seen anybody else do probably in the time I've been watching West Ham, which is maybe like 15 years, something like that. And that's why I back him, even though he does stupid things like put Mark Noble on when he should put Ben Johnson on instead. Sure, yeah. So what it really comes down to is, do you trust David Moyes? Do you hand him the keys? Because what I read today was that there's a 2-year contract extension in the offing for him, and it'll be 3 years if we finish above something like 13th in the last year, which seems kind of weird, but that's from Claret and Hugh. Take it with a grain of salt. What I'm saying is, do you trust him?
The question is, how can you not?
Well, I do, but I mean,
yeah.
But and this is the thing: people who don't, I never hear anybody say, "Oh, well, let's bring in so and so instead." You know what I mean? I never hear.
Who else is there? Who else is there at the minute who you could say that is like we could go and get and say, you know what, who's better?
So you're gonna have to take the good with the bad. All right, you're gonna have to take the Mark Noble substitutions that end up in 3-3 draws when we should have won. You know, that's going to happen. All right. The starting 11s against Brighton and Manchester United that were terrible. That's going to happen. He's gonna crap himself against big clubs. That's going to happen. Hopefully, he's been a manager for a long time. He's not going to change his ways. That's going to happen. But you take all that stuff and you also take the fact that we are within very real striking distance of our all-time Premier League point total, that we are in real striking distance of Champions League. We're going to be in striking distance of Champions League in April. All right, our next game is in April. This is unprecedented nosebleed territory. That's why, for me, I back him, even though you're going to get some crap.
I don't know. To be fair, too, he has made a lot of decisions that have benefited the club. Right, beginning of the year, going to the 5-back system. I
don't think this is true, Charlie. Anyway, go ahead, Sally.
The formation that he's had, this past weekend going into the game was great. Obviously, Villa, the way that we played against Manchester City, like I said, you're going to have to take the good from the bad, but I think a lot of the good kind of has to be looked at in more than just results, like positive results, because like I said, he has, he did follow, I guess, our scout Souček and get Soufal, right? Dawson was a signing from him. Obviously, Benrahma.
Yeah.
So I think he has done some great things, and obviously, it's stuff that you can build on.
Well, and he got Lingard in. He got Lingard in.
Yeah, got Lingard in.
If Lingard starts permanently, that's a massive deal for us.
Yeah, so I think I don't remember who said it earlier, but we are building a squad, and I think obviously you're not going to build a complete quality squad, and by complete I mean starters and bench. In just one season, so.
But Charlie, okay, I'm going to tell you right now. Charlie says everyone backed Pellegrini. He was a few points away from 7th. David, you read the starting 11 on live national television when we played Everton that game. All right, you remember that? It was you. You read it. You remember that. What were your thoughts about Pellegrini in that moment?
My thoughts were that. Yeah, he just. My thoughts were. Well, I'm actually going to go in a completely different direction.
Go wherever you want.
It was a cowardly move. The way he set up, he was going for a position. But the new way I want to bring this up is that Pellegrini probably wasn't properly backed for what he wanted to do. And the owners should have spent more money, even though they were doing a slow building project. But my way of putting it is, I think, for good or for worse, David Moyes is the West Ham owner's wet dream.
Yes.
He can do a lot with a squad where you don't spend a lot of money. And as we've been saying, each player taken individually doesn't do that well. You know what I mean? If you put them on another team, they wouldn't stand up. But his manner of coaching and approaching a game plan with every team, he won't beat the highest team so often, but his points per game will be pretty good and will allow you to maybe reach Europa League in his second or third season. So we hate the owners, right? I think most people hate the owners, but
we all do.
Yes. Time he's the owner's wet dream. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're actually stuck in an in-between world where we can never hope to get elite players. We can never hope to spend a lot of money on players, but we've settled on a manager who can really take us to our maximum, especially with the money we're spending and our overall philosophy. So right now I support David Moyes just because he's the best we can do at this point in time with these owners. And I'm enjoying the ride, but I'm not pretending like we have Champions League ambitions. I think anyone who thinks we have Champions League ambitions, we could make it 1 year off. We could make it this year. I don't think we'll make it this year. But we're stuck with what we're stuck with.
I feel the same way. Everybody knows, and whether you back Pellegrini or Moyes or Bilic or anybody else we've had, everybody knows by now, it's been 10 years, everybody knows that we are limited by these owners. We're limited by the fact that they won't spend money, they're asset stripping the club, they're going to look to sell the club at some point. You know, I know that there's been a lot of rumors that there have been offers and so forth. I do think they'll sell it at some point. We know who these people are. They've told us who they are, and we know who they are, right? There's only so far we can go with them. And I think the person that David, I think what you're saying is the person who takes us the farthest under that scenario is David Moyes. And I agree with that. If the Qataris come in tomorrow and they say, we're going to buy West Ham and turn you into the next Manchester City, then, maybe it's time to say, thanks David Moyes for your service, and you bring in, I don't know, some world famous manager, but that's not where we are. And I don't think we'll get Champions League either. I'm sorry, I don't. I think we'll do really well if we get into Europa League and do it, the proper way.
I'm really hoping we make Europa League just to bring some sort of atmosphere to the London Stadium, assuming fans come back in September.
Yes.
Just to actually force the owners to spend some money to reinforce our depth.
Absolutely.
And so they don't get embarrassed. I don't think they'll view it as a legitimate Europa League push. I think they just would not want to get embarrassed and have to get relegated.
And I'll tell you the other thing, David, is, Europa League, we got a chance to advance in Europa League, okay? The squad we have right now could get through a group stage in Europa League, I think. I
think it would depend on the group we draw.
It would, but you saw Saint Etienne do it. You remember what Saint Etienne did it, and they ended up playing Manchester United in the knockouts, and they lost to Manchester United, obviously. But they got through with some team from Kazakhstan and some team from Belarus or whatever. They made it.
That's why it depends on the draw we get. I think if we got like a team that was similar to Arsenal, you know what I mean? Like maybe. But
we're never. But listen,
we had another okay team.
I would love to be in Champions League for the prestige, all right, and for the fact that we could tell Declan Rice, stay with us because you're in Champions League, and Thomas Suchek, stay with us. But we're going to get, unless we upgrade immensely, you go into Champions League, and all of a sudden, we're going to get absolutely throttled, So it's a double-edged sword. I would be happy with Europa League because it would show progress, and I think we could go to a young Declan Rice and say, stick with us. We're making progress here. You can see that we're making progress here. You know what I mean? And in a way, if we made a little Europa League run, that maybe is better than getting into Champions League and just being booted, first thing. Not trying to be negative, but yeah, I know, Kostya. I know. Believe me, I remember. We all remember. But I think this team is better.
That was in Europa League qualifying. I want us to make the group stage.
The proper Europa League, not the qualifying. proper Europa League group stage where you go in and you're part of the competition. Yes, because we never even made it before. We never got past that.
Against Palermo, though, wasn't that a natural group stage qualifying?
I'm sorry. Say that again.
Against Palermo, although I think it was in a different name.
Yeah, Palermo was qualifying stages. Was the last qualifying round.
Oh, that was the last. Sorry, so I'm wrong. It was the last qualifying round, Charlie. It wasn't the group stage.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think we've been in.
Sorry, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't think we've been in Europa League.
With that
Oh, you're
beautiful
right. We
pink
only
kit.
played them. Duh.
Yeah, Europa League proper. Yeah, I don't think we've been in it. So let me ask you this. I mean, since we don't have a game next week, maybe this is where we can kind of end. Are you still there, James? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's gone into the shadows. He's gone into the shadows. I mean, what is your at this point, what is your threshold for where we finish? What would disappoint you? Let's put it that way. What would disappoint you? A couple of weeks ago, I said I'd be disappointed if we didn't get into Europe. I think that was a little ambitious. I'd love to get into Europe. I think it's possible. I'm not sure that's my disappointment threshold. Where is the threshold right now where you say to yourself, that wasn't good enough for this team this season? James, what's yours?
I think you just got to embrace it for what it is, isn't it? Do you mean just got to treat like nine cup finals and basically see how we go? Do you know what I mean?
But I mean, what place in the table makes you say it wasn't good enough this season?
Anywhere below seventh. If we start slipping down 8th, 9th, 10th, then obviously it's all been a hype, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. Last season we finished 16th. We struggled to stay up. You know what happened. You know. I mean, does it make any difference at all if we get to May and we finish 10th and we slip and we lose to Everton, we lose to Chelsea, we drop a game against like a Brighton or somebody, which that can happen. I mean, does it make a difference that we moved up 6 places, or does it just hurt because we were so high in the table so late in the season?
Well, look at it this way. Sheffield United finished 7th, was it, last year?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, something like that. Yeah. That's a great point.
And this season, they're going to go down. So we've got to make sure that the momentum that we carry the momentum for the next season. Because if we don't, as we all know here as fans, and we can all say this, West Ham don't have 2 good seasons in a row.
Never in the history of the club.
And that's a problem.
Sure.
You're absolutely right about that, James. 100%. 100%. David, what's your take?
My take is that I would be fine for 6th, 7th, and 8th, but if we did 9 and 10, I would get a little disappointed, even though from the start of this show, I've been saying 10th to 15th would be my predicted finish. I said that at the beginning. I think it's gone far enough where if we finish 9th and 10th, I'd just be a little disappointed. The way we've been playing, the way we've been cohesive as a team, the results we've gotten, if we just shat the bed and finish 9th or 10th, I would be disappointed. I wouldn't be disappointed if we finished 8th, right outside of the Europa League spot, because then we'd have the potential to build. And like James said, we wouldn't be like Sheffield United. I don't believe they made Europa League. We wouldn't be a Europa League team who was overburdened. We could still build on that, but anything above 7th or 8th, I would be a little disappointed. Just where we stand right now.
All right, fair enough. What about you, Sully?
So looking at the table right now, there's only 3 points that separate us between 8th and 7 points between us and 9th. So I think if we finish anywhere below 8, that's a bad thing. And more so because it would sting for how well that we've been this year.
Yeah.
Obviously 9 is still top half, whatever. But if you finish 9th, I feel like, we, as you said, like we kind of bottled it because Arsenal are 9th with 42 points. Obviously, we're 5th with 49. So, they'd have to somehow make up basically 2.5 games or 2.5 wins, rather, to overtake us. Granted, Villa's sitting there with 41 at 10, but, I feel like we definitely would have to drop a lot of games for us to finish anywhere below 8th, and I think that would be pretty disappointing if we did that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Charlie, what do you think?
I agree with David. Anything under 8th is disappointing. We're not getting Europe, by the way. I 100% agree with Fo. That was our chance. We've blown it. A team who gets Europe wins that match. But in general, anything below 8, I'd be disappointed by. Anything below 8, I would be disappointed.
But you've seen all season. You've seen weird results. You saw Manchester United lost to Sheffield United. You've seen all sorts of bizarre,
But what you say though, the Leicester home game, the Everton home game, and the Chelsea home game are the ones that will decide it.
Absolutely.
James.
I think Trevor said that right here.
It's still up for grabs.
Yeah, but we can always look at the games in the future and go, they'll decide it. But in reality,
but they are the teams around us, don't they?
They really do decide to, Charlie, because we can catch Chelsea if we beat them.
I agree. But we could also be further behind by then. But my point is, if you're a team chasing, which we are, you have to keep winning. We gave away points, and it's probably going to happen again because the points weren't given away because of some fluke. The points weren't given away because of some error. The points were given away because of a systematic problem that is the way David Moyes set up. It's going to happen again at some point this season, and it's going to be the reason we don't win. We don't get European.
But you can't say that because look at Burnley. Burnley go to Everton and win. Who would have predicted that?
That's what I mean. Nothing makes sense.
Who predicts we go up to Leicester and win? These are all ifs, ands, or buts. The fact of the matter is we're still chasing, and
let's
we're
be honest here.
We didn't need to.
Let's be really truthful here. What we're saying, the only thing we can predict at the minute is Man City are going to win the league. Because I'll tell you what, if anyone, if anyone can predict who's going to finish in the top 4, you're a braver man than me. And I'm telling you that now for certain. Do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Is that a pepper? That's a pepper, right, Charlie boy? That's a pepper. I think the results. Listen, there's no fans. It's a strange, weird season. There's been all kinds of weird results. We know that. I mean, look at Villa. What did they put 7 past Liverpool? I mean, I know Liverpool are not exactly fantastic, but that was a weird. That was like 7-1 or 7-2. That's crazy.
7-1.
You do that to the defending champion. That never happens.
To be honest, that's not even the craziest result that happened against Liverpool this year.
No, it's not. No, I mean Burnley went in and beat Everton. Burnley,
and Brighton.
Again, and Brighton. So this is what I'm saying is it's so up in the air. I personally, I'm trying to have I'm trying to have some perspective here. I think if we finish, I honestly think if we finish in the top 10, it's not that bad a season. I really do. I think it's not that bad a season, and most people disagree, and that's okay. But you move up 6 places from last season. There was no relegation battle. I love the fact that I do not care how Brighton or Newcastle or Fulham are doing because we're not battling them for anything. This makes me so happy.
No, sure, but I mean, if we finish, let's say we finish 10th, right? That means we got caught by a team that's 8 points behind us.
It would suck. I think that's a good point.
We finished one place better than Pellegrini's first year, right? We finished 11th.
Right. I just want to say something. Right. But next 2 games, we've got Wolves, we've got Leicester. Yeah. Then after that, we've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Burnley, Everton, West Brom. Brighton, West Brom, Southampton. Right. Possible 27.
The run-in should not be that bad.
I don't think. I think any West Ham fan or anyone who is a real proper fan would be happy with that running. You take like apart from Chelsea, and Chelsea have got Champions League. Like they've got to play Porto. No one's forgetting that. Like, are you telling me that Chelsea are going to take us serious if they've got a possible Champions League semi-final at stake?
They have the squad to do that, though, James. These big clubs, I mean, the thing is, and we talk about this a lot here, is, everybody says, well, they'll be tired from the midweek game, but they never are. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Arsenal came in and scored 3, and they went down 3-0. They came back and scored 3 against us, and frankly, almost won that game on Sunday. I mean, nobody's ever because they have long, big squads. I mean, it doesn't seem to affect them. I would love for it to affect them, but it never seems to affect them.
So how many points? So a possible 27 points up for grabs there from them 9 games. How many points can you honestly see that we're going to get?
I'll tell you what I would like to see. I would like to see us get our record Premier League point total, right? Which, if I'm not mistaken, would be 63 points. Okay, 62 is the record. 63 would be,
How many do we have now, Lee?
We have 49. We're 14 points away. So if we win 5 of the last 9 games, that's 15 points. That gets it done, and I think that's actually doable. I think that's
honestly 60-something points. It might be what we need to get into Europa League, because right now 60. You said 62. How many points?
I think 62 is our record, if I'm not mistaken, and I have to look that up again because don't take that as gospel, but I'm pretty sure that's
sure. So yeah, right now that would, if nothing else happens, obviously that would put us at second right now. But Manchester United, Leicester, and Chelsea all have 51. So I mean, if mainly Manchester United, Leicester are right there, a couple wins away from passing that. So I think if we do we probably have to get around 60 to even have a conversation about getting into just the Europa League.
I think so too.
I've got to be honest though. I think Leicester now, they're in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Their motivation changes from semi-final of FA Cup. That's more important than the league, I think.
And they bottled it. The last season after the restart, they bottled it big time. Remember, they were in the Champions League places, and I think they finished 5th. They
were second in the league. That's
what I'm saying. They collapsed. Now maybe that doesn't happen again this year, but they have a history of collapsing. So who knows? One more question, and then we should probably go. Do you have a David Moyes out threshold? Not a disappointment, but is there a place where we finish in the league where you say to yourself, it's not good enough, he's got to go?
Yeah, double-digit place in the table.
Like this year?
This year. Yeah. Is there a David Moyes out, and realistically, we're not going to go down, right? I mean, so
barring any crazy injury?
Barring any crazy injury. If there's a Rice or Suchek injury, throw all this out the window, okay? Forget it. Just be glad we're not in the relegation battle. Barring any crazy injury, team stays fairly intact. Where do we finish that makes, if anywhere, that makes you say we got to bring somebody else in?
Yeah, 10th or below.
So if we finish 11th, you want him
out.
Okay. Fair. Not tonight, John. I gotta be serious about it tonight. Charlie, what about you?
Same, right?
10th or below?
Yeah.
Quiet, Charlie. You're so quiet. What's going on with you? Was it the toast?
He's pondering.
Just pondering, pontificating, deep.
Yeah.
Deep,
no, it's a lot of stuff rattling around up there.
Do you know what I mean? It's the curse of a genius. It never stops. I think it's 10th or below is the honest answer, because realistically, anything above that, and I'm like, I can't make an argument against it. Anything below that, and I'm like, well, there's many arguments I can make against it. So 10th or below, and you know me, I'm already coming from a negative stance in anyway. But 10th or below is probably the way.
Yeah, you drop 5 places with 9 games to go, and you with no injuries, and fucked something all the way up.
Right. No, it's true. That's why I'm asking. How about you, David?
11th or 12th. That will mean we'll fall below like Aston Villa or Crystal Palace.
So bottom half of the table.
We will have completely fallen. It will be unacceptable.
Yeah. James, how about you? Do you have a Moyes out table place?
Not yet, not for me. I think even if he finished in, just for argument's sake, he collapsed there. He will get fully judged in the summer, who he brings in, and next season. Let's be honest here. It's not about this season because we're safe. We are free rolling at the minute, and we've got to embrace it. That's what my mentality is. Next season is how he builds on it. Now I see comments in there saying that people we've never had Moyes for 2 years. Well, we will do next season, and it's either gonna go one or two ways. It's either gonna go very, very well, or it could go down the road pretty fast. So I'm not Moyes out. I wouldn't say this season because we're rolling, but next season.
Yeah. So you definitely have a good point with what you're saying there, James. And I just have one question just for the summer. If we go into the summer and let's say we sign 1 or 2 players who are average at best, is that on Moyes, or are we still blaming the board for that? Like,
Do we
more
even
than
know?
past.
Do we even know?
It all-
I mean, that's the thing is, do we
It all
know?
goes back
Yeah.
to the January transfer window when we needed a striker at this club, and
Yeah.
we all
Yeah.
know it. And it's either Moyes being stubborn or the board's being stubborn, but someone's stubbornness is the reason why there's not a striker at the club. We don't just need 2 players; we need about 6, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah. We need cover. We need a striker, if not 2. We need 2 midfielders because Souček and Rice are like just like how they're playing every
we need
game.
a left back. We need a left back.
We need a left back, and I do believe
keeper.
we need a goal, and we need a
I
keeper.
do
as
too.
well.
I
So-
agree with you there. We do.
We need a goalkeeper for the future.
Yes, we do.
Mm.
Absolutely. And one who could
So-
step in
Fabianski has probably one more good year left in him, and then we need to part ways with him.
with you.
The way
Because
I-
he's been-
The way I look at it is you've got to give him sort of this season, let it go. Next season, give him a decent budget. Obviously, it all depends on what budget he gets. Like if he's only going to get 50 million, like you're asking a man to perform miracles with 50 million pounds, and that's hard. That's hard. Do you know what I mean? You can't do it.
No,
I think
you can't
it's
do it.
one of those
Yeah.
things, right? Gio says it all the time, and I hate quoting him, but I'm gonna. If you pay peanuts, you get monkeys, right? The realistic thing is, it doesn't matter how much budget we're going to get; it's not going to stretch over all the points we need. I think if we buy average players, which will probably happen because of the budget, I think it's a mixture of both of their faults. It'll be the board's fault and it'll be David Moyes' fault. David Moyes needs to have the clout and the courage and everything else to go into the boardroom and say, "No, I need more money. If you want me to do anything, I need more money." And if he doesn't do
But see,
that,
he
then
won't
that's
do
his
that,
problem.
Charlie, because that's why.
Yeah, he's not done that thus far.
He's not going to do that.
Oh, I
He's
agree
not
with you.
gonna- because he's a yes man who, it's just what David said earlier, and I agree. He's what the owners love because he will work within their parameters. He won't make threats. He won't make ultimatatives. He'll just be like, okay, I'll do the best I can.
I agree.
And-
That's what I'm
and
saying.
I'm-
It's-
See, the
that's why I
thing
say
is,
You're not
If
wrong,
you
Charlie. You're right,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
fine.
never going to happen.
If you shop at Poundland,
That's what we need,
or-
but that's not what we'll get.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, if you shop at Poundland, you're going to get Poundland players basically. Like you need to go out and like if you want to go and get a proper goalkeeper, go and get Henderson or go and get Pope. If you want to go and get a proper striker, go and get Tony or go and get El Nesri, whoever you want. I mean, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'll say this as well. A, the cheap Morrison's own Jaffa cakes are probably better than the actual Jaffa cakes, and they're like 15p compared to £1. I'm just putting it out there. But secondly, what I'll say is this about David Moyes, because Lee, again, I don't like the guy. So
I know you don't. I know. Yeah.
I think
fine.
realistically, you look at it and you say, look, he has done a hell of a lot of good things in order to put it forward. The problem is about sustaining that, and that is about kind of changing the pressure with the board and everything else. I hate the fact that we sort of have to sit here and go, well, he can't do that, and well, we have to be realistic about these things, because in reality, we don't have to be. There's nothing saying we have to accept this.
Well, fans don't have to be
Nothing-
realistic at all.
Yeah, but are we
But I
we
mean-
accepting it? Are we accepting it because of the board though? Because if the board would give him
But we
100
don't-
million, then
Equally-
it's a different story, isn't it?
Yeah, we're forced to accept it because of the board.
But we don't have to accept it.
Well, then what do? We could protest again with Hammers
No,
United.
we can't
I mean,
do-
I say we. I'm
Tell
Tell
not
him to
yeah.
get in the bin, bruv. It pisses me. It's like, and it comes back to the Arsenal thing, right? It's like, it's just frustrating. Do you know what? And I said this to someone else, Lee, and I'll say it to you because you'll probably appreciate it. What frustrated me most about it is I was getting close to believing in Moyes. I was getting real close to thinking, actually, maybe he's not everything I thought he was. And then he rocks up and does everything I thought he was. And I was like, oh, man,
Well, he was everything you thought he was.
it's frustrating, but the thing is really we have part of it has to be realistic. David Moyes is going to stay, as he should, because he's done it. He's done everything he needs to do and more to stay this season. He's going to stay. He's not going to get the players. We're going to wait until the last second of the window to sign anyone, and it's still probably only going to be Jesse Lingard and some random player you've never heard of. It's going to suck. It's going to suck, and we just have to sit here and hope that he can perform miracles twice in a row, which I don't think I should do. And I don't want to sit here and hope that David Moyes proves not to be David Moyes the second time in a row.
But Charlie,
When there's so many years of being David Moyes, it sucks, but it's
But do you understand it's going to suck no matter what because of our owners? Because it'll always suck with these people in charge.
Yeah,
and it
but
has for 10 years. It has for 10 years.
I agree. They should go, and so should David Moyes, but we move.
Well, I mean, okay, fine. But I'm just saying they're not going. Do you know what I mean?
But you've also got to give Moyes some credit. He's brought in Craig Dawson, who got relegated, right? And I know people say about that 2.2 million. He's been fair enough. Last two games ain't been great, but he's been pretty decent.
Overall, he's had a very good season.
He's
right.
brought in. Fornells was already there, wasn't he? Like Moyes didn't bring him in. That was Pellegrini.
You're totally right.
Oh, that's true. That's true, James. Right. You're right about that, James. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's brought in Kafal. He's brought in Souček. He's brought in Bowen. He's brought in Ben Rama. Like you got to give him some credit.
He didn't bring in Souček, Bowen, or Ben Rama.
Well, he brought him.
I can tell you that with 100% certainty. Well, with 99% certainty, we know Ben Rama for a fact wasn't him. We know, if anything, he didn't want Ben Rama.
He wanted Grady to stay. Yeah.
I also think that's a problem. I don't think he should be. I think we should have backed him and got who he wanted instead of Saeed Ben Rama. I think that was stupid. As much as, and I like Ben Rama, I prefer Ben Rama to Josh King by 100 million times. But you've got to back the manager, and it's insane. Souček and Bowen weren't his either. But it doesn't make a difference. I said this on Two Spanners, like on the Hammers Trap Patreon exclusive podcast.
But he still worked with him though, Charlie, isn't he? He's still working with them players, and he's made them better. Like you can't.
Sure, but that's a nothing statement, though.
Well, but again, to me, what it comes down to is always the same thing. It's always who owns the club. It's always everything in football now is about who owns the club. Everything is about who owns the club. Who's successful? The clubs with the gigantic billionaire owners. That's all there is to it. I mean, I know Leicester sneaks in from time to time and they win a title. First of all, they have a fairly wealthy owner anyway, or they did. Poor man who died in the helicopter crash, but I mean, Leicester, they're not a poor club, all right. But they snuck in a season where everybody else was garbage, basically.
So who has Moyes actually made better then? In Charlie's opinion, who would you say that Moyes has gone, you know what, he's made him better? Because Kafal was a Champions League defender for Slavia Prague. Souček was a Slavia Prague Champions League DM. Who would you say, in your mind, is who Moyes has made better since he's been at the club?
Cresswell.
Cresswell, I agree with that.
Antonio after the restart.
Antonio, Cresswell.
I think he plays a system which helps Antonio.
Arthur Masuaku, who's been out, but Arthur Masuaku.
Yeah, in both of his David Moyes spells, Arthur Masuaku has played.
Fredericks. I actually like Fredericks now. What a time to be alive that is.
I hate to say it. First of all, I think
Fredericks.
he's made the collective better. He's made, as we said earlier, he's made the collective better. But I do think you can look at Antonio. I think you can look at, as you said, Fredericks. I think you look at Cresswell. I think you look at Masuaku.
Ogbonna.
No one has made. No one has said.
Yeah.
Hold a minute, but no one said the main man yet. Declan Rice. He's made Declan Rice.
I don't think he's done anything with Declan.
But he's made him captain, Charlie. And
it's hard to judge just because Declan Rice is so good.
I'm going to say something controversial. I don't like Declan Rice as captain either, but that's a separate argument.
Oh, Charlie, come on, man.
Charlie, I have to. Well, listen.
It's a separate argument for another day. I think he gets a little.
Shouldn't be captain.
I don't know who should be. It's just the fact that I don't like him as captain. I think he gets a bit too hot-headed at times. I don't really think he leads in a way that other people do. But I also think I'm a bit spoiled because we've actually had like a couple of good captains in a row with Kevin Nolan and Mark Noble. It frustrates me looking a little bit at Declan. I'm like, I'd prefer him not to have that.
I want to say something even worse, Charlie. Mark Noble's not a good captain. He never really was a very good captain.
Ooh.
Damn, talk about controversial.
And no, I'm sorry. A wonderful servant.
I agree with leader.
A wonderful servant to the club.
100%.
Sometimes a very good player. A wonderful servant to the club. A man I genuinely admire as a human being and as a West Ham legend. And I have respect for him. But he was not a good captain. How many times did the shoulders slump? Did the heads go down as soon as we conceded? He did a lot of theatrical stuff. He carried Andre Ferreira all over the pitch.
To be fair, it's very easy. It's very easy when everyone's winning.
Well,
it's very easy when everyone's winning.
Well,
you can't say Declan Rice is better because the shoulders haven't slumped. The shoulders slumped when we got conceded 3 to Arsenal.
But don't you think Declan has something to do with that, Charlie?
Yeah.
Noble was all about, I'm sorry, he's all about theatrics. He's all about go head to head with Pogba, carry people around, push people around. He didn't listen, and this is one of the concerns I have about him.
Can I say something though, Lee? Can I say something? You don't get scouted. You don't get touted to go to like Man United, Chelsea. Mark Noble's never been touted to go to Manchester United and Chelsea.
That's a player issue. Declan Rice is a better footballer than Mark Noble. Declan Rice is a better footballer than Mark Noble. Of course he is. Declan Rice isn't going to go to Man United and Chelsea and be their captain. No chance. The only reason he's captain is to try and stop him from leaving.
Theatrics.
Declan Rice is a world-class DM, mate. Well,
I'm not dissing Declan. I love Declan Rice.
Yeah.
He's not a captain though.
You do, Charlie.
I love him. I think he's beautiful.
I was
Listen, I think he's Declan Rice.
Rice.
Declan Rice is probably the best youth academy player to come through at West Ham since I've started watching him. Now, obviously, when I first started watching West Ham, we had Michael Carrick, we had Jermaine Defoe, people like that, right? When I first started watching in the late 90s, those existed. But to actually see them come through, because they were already in the first team when I started to remember West Ham, right? Declan Rice is the best by such a huge distance. Declan Rice can go to Man United, can go to Chelsea. There is zero chance he'll be their captain. He'll play. He should start all the time, but he's not the cap. He shouldn't be the captain for them. And he won't be the captain for them if he eventually goes.
That's what I was going
Literally, I don't know. We've got no captains. We've got no captains.
Listen,
he's captain by default. It would probably, honestly, like you look at it.
He's the best player on the pitch for us. No, he is. Declan, come on. Who's better?
Best player on the pitch. I thought you were saying the best player on the pitch should be the captain.
No.
Which I disagree with.
Well, no, I'm just saying I think he gets it by default because he's the best player on the pitch, but also listen, I thought he'd be too goofy to be captain. I thought he'd be too much of a goofball because he falls for practical jokes. He's kind of a doofus.
Every time Mark Noble's been captain this year, we haven't won a game.
Yeah,
that's
because Mark Noble's playing.
By the way,
Noble.
I would listen to this. This makes a degree of sense, although I think maybe I don't know if his English is good enough, but I don't mind Declan. Of all the problems we have, Charlie.
Oh, it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
That's all the things you would change about West Ham. Way down the list is who's captain.
I wouldn't put it way down. I wouldn't put it way down the list, but at the same time, we don't unless we have Mark Noble on the pitch, we don't have a captain on the pitch.
When we have Mark Noble on the pitch, we still don't have a captain on the pitch.
And that's something
he's never been a very good captain. A great player, a wonderful servant.
And that's
not
territory.
Not a good captain. I mean, just demonstrably not a good captain.
I strongly disagree, Lee. But that's agree to disagree territory.
That's a conversation for a different wrap up.
Yeah, I know. We should.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. Like, I just think Declan Rice isn't like a great captain, but it makes no difference, right? I think really,
I'm not sure he's a great captain yet either. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say if he's great. It's been one season. I mean, we don't know.
Yeah, but let's be honest here. The one season that he's had, look how well we're doing.
No, it's been really good. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I don't think that's because he's captain. I think that's because of everything else. Again, I think it's easy to be captain when everyone's winning. When you're winning a lot, it's easy to stand. I think he's the fake. I think it's let's bring it back to terms we all understand. WWE, okay? You put Roman Reigns as the face of the company. It makes sense. Declan Rice is the Roman Reigns. You love him. You look at him. You go, he's a good lad, isn't he? You like it, but he's not the best. He's not the leader.
Unless you start talking about some Von Erichs, you're going to lose me with the wrestling.
That's fair.
My wrestling references are 30 to 40 years old. Okay, so you're going to lose me unless you go back to Chris Adams or Junkyard Dog or the Great Khali, right?
Yeah, sure.
I'm just saying, like, go to the Sportatorium and you'll get me. But if you go to Roman Reigns, I don't know who that is. I understand what you're saying, though. I get the spirit of it.
Declan Rice is the face of the club. He's not he shouldn't be the captain, though. But that's a side note. The point I was making is I don't think that David Moyes has made Declan Rice better. I think he's got better as David Moyes has been here, but I don't know if he wouldn't get better under a different person. I think the people you can say he's demonstrably made better. I think he made
David Moyes did give Declan Rice his debut, though, Charlie. The first time round.
Yeah, but
that's good.
Point. Yeah, you mean like if you want to?
He's got you there, Charlie.
Not really. That means nothing. he was the right age when David Moyes was here. Sam Allardyce gave a debut to Reece Burke, and he went. It makes no difference. Like when you look at it, right, and you say the people.
You're comparing Reece Burke to Declan Rice.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a frivolous argument. It matters not. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a pointless thing to say. The people he's made better. I think he's made better Ogbonna because Ogbonna was out of form when he came, and since he's come in, Ogbonna has been in exceptional form, literally, basically since the word go, since David Moyes come in, and I think that's down to David Moyes. I think the defensive players. There's a reason why the defensive players look better under David Moyes, and that's because that's his bread and butter, isn't it? So you're looking at your Ogbonnas, you're looking at your Cresswells, you're looking at your Ryan Fredericks, people like that. I think he's demonstrably made those better. And I think you can make the argument for Antonio as well. Although, again, if you want to say Antonio, Pellegrini was the one who started playing him up front. But he's been better up front because the system works better for him.
He's better than he was at left back or right back under Bilic.
I would say right back's apart from this, the one time Antonio's ever been in form, but that's just because I think he's a
Charlie. You're just trying to.
He's trolling.
Listen. You can go back and look at any Hammers Chat video I've been in since we started. The only time Antonio's ever been good, apart from when David Moyes came in and he was playing up front, is when he was at right back.
What about
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Since then,
freaking goals last season, Charlie.
That's what I'm saying. That's the only time. And then outside of that, it's been when he was at right back. The rest of the time, he's a pointless footballer.
Oh,
man, he's a non-league footballer. He's a non-league footballer. He has no technical ability. He can't pass. He can't shoot. He can't shoot from outside the box. He can't cross. He's wank, but that's beside the point. Thank you, Wally. Wally's realised what I'm doing. Wally's realised what I'm doing.
But you know what? Yeah, he's trying to accelerate. This is his other one. Okay, you know what? I'm not.
You're past your time, Lee. It's 10:49.
I am past my time, and Kostya says, "Yeah, let's do this."
Wait, hang on. Is Novelist Kostya?
Yeah, it's Kostya. I think it is.
Man's sitting there with like a biggie.
Well, that's what Kostya looks like. You've been on the show with him. Kostya looks just like Biggie.
He does. It's true. They are.
Haven't you seen him on the show? He looks just like.
He also has bars like Biggie. I've heard it.
No, I can't. No, not tonight. I can't do it. I can't do it tonight. Well, I gotta have. Listen, I've got to. I know that I have to have a very. It's almost 11 o'clock at night. I first of all have a terrible headache. I have to be honest with you. Probably because of everything Charlie's saying.
My bad.
Yeah, it's usually what happens with Charlie because of the show. Yeah, no, I think it's allergies. But anyway, I have to have a very important conversation about whether or not what we're going to do with our boys in school tomorrow. So, and it's almost 7 o'clock at night, and already my wife's going to be like, "Why are you waiting so late?" You know, whatever. So tonight we're cutting it off a little bit early, and I apologize for that. But it's been a fantastic discussion, great discussion, and I've enjoyed it thoroughly. And I want to thank everybody except for Charlie for being here. No, I'm just joking. Charlie, the reason I invite you every week is because it's always great to have you here. And I'll tell you, I love this group that we're getting together, that gets together more and more as a group every week. And David, I want you to be a part of this too whenever you can, okay? Nolan's been in the chat room screwing around with all these chat room people. He needs to come back on too. I don't know, John, but I can tell you Saint Etienne are 4 points out of the relegation zone right now, and I'm very nervous about this season, and I'm not feeling good about it at all. David,
why aren't you feeling good
about Saint Etienne? They're inconsistent. I think they'll survive because I think the teams below them are actually worse, and I think they actually have some decent players who, when they're not in COVID protocol, will keep them up. They were missing like 4 key players against Monaco, and it showed. But anyway, PSG, I don't care. I don't know. Saint Etienne. Well, I mean, you know, all we can do is hope. But I think.
But what about if they go down? What happens?
They've gone down before. I've gone down with them. I mean,
will they bounce straight back up?
I tell you, the last time they went down, they almost went down into the 3rd division, which is literally amateur football in France. So
anyway. I guess that's true.
No, it is, and they went down all the way to the bottom of the 2nd division, and I watched them every time they were on Eurosport when I lived over there. And then they came back up. So, all right, Charlie, it's been wonderful to have you. It really has. I love Charlie, and I'm glad he's here. Selly, every Wednesday, so good to have you. Really just so glad to see you, Selly. You know, we had a horrible thing happen in Boulder, Colorado here a few days ago. And my first thought when I saw that it was at a grocery store in Boulder, I was like, my God, I have to find out if Selly's okay. And thank God Selly's okay. So I'm sorry for the people who are not okay, obviously. But Selly, I'm glad to see you, man. It's really good to see you. Had a little moment of panic. A little moment of panic. I really did. James in London, always good to have you with us. Always great. And my neighbor, David, down in Boston, listen. Hey, David, listen. I get my second shot at Gillette tomorrow, okay? I'm just saying, give it that couple of weeks to brew or whatever it does, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to be unstoppable.
Nice. Or at least my first shot, so.
Yeah, there you go. Or at least maybe I'll go see a match with you down at the Banshee before the end of the season.
Perfect.
That would be awesome. I would love it. It's been so long. To everybody in the chat room, thanks for being here. Nolan, stop asking questions. I'm cutting you off now. No game this week, so no predictions. But until next Wednesday. Oh, by the way, Katie, wonderful Katie, not doing a show tomorrow night, so don't bother to look tomorrow night. She's not doing a show. Hopefully she'll come back next week. Until next Wednesday, come on, you Irons.
Lee, what's your favorite biscuit? What's your favorite biscuit, Lee?